So today we conclude a three-part series called For Future Generations. And this series has been all about, the need for this church to exist and our part to play in making sure that future generations know the gospel, the good news of Jesus. This is also our campaign name. As we seek to create new space for adults to gather in, and turn this space into a state-of-the-art, indoor, air-conditioned and heated when needed playground, a space for parents and families to gather, a space for cultures to collide, a space for the church to be the church. And here's the truth. Everyone in life experiences times when things just aren't going according to plan. When we have questions, but there's no suitable answers. There's solutions needed, but there's no one around them to actually gain the wisdom or advice. Everyone goes through these moments where I'm like, I just feel lost and don't return. And my hope is that we create a church that's so open, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, that it's so a place where people gather that when someone experiences that moment of like, I don't know what to do, something in their heart says, you know what, I'm going to go to that church. I'm going to go see those people. Maybe they have an answer. It's so much easier to go somewhere once you've been. It's so much easier to walk through the doors of a place once you've experienced the people. And that's what we're creating. Something a little different in this community, but a place where families for generations to come, literally generations of kids will be impacted because of just what we believe, the gospel, the good news. And so last week, we actually talked about how we're going to make that happen. And we talked about generosity. And that it takes generosity for not only for us to expand, but it takes generosity for us to reveal our faith. In 2 Corinthians, Paul ties two ideas together, and they're intrinsic. They cannot be separated. That faith is tied to our generosity. Now, I'm not saying this, okay? And I said it last service, and I should have cried. I'm not saying that if you have a sickness and maybe you're struggling or maybe you're doubting that you should give more money in order to have more faith. That's not the topic or the direction we're going. I simply mean this. If you believe in God, if you say you follow him, then your money should follow that. Because money is the one thing that we hold on to as control. It's plan B. It's like, in case this doesn't work out, I got options. I've got my own income, my own. It's, hey, do you trust God enough to say, God, you have it all? Like you're in control. That's what generosity does. It teaches us to be dependent upon, to trust in God, not ourselves. And in so doing, we communicate to the world of Jesus with following. We reveal to them a faith of who we are. And so I don't talk about that often. If you want to learn more about it, jump in, tune in to last week's service online, YouTube. You can find it. The cool thing I will say is this. I laid a challenge out to the church. By the end of the year, by December 31st, 2024, there was two numbers that we needed as a church, not only for progression, but for staff and for growth that we're experiencing and to continue doing what we're doing in our community. We needed $250,000. That was $100,000 towards our campaign and $150,000 towards our general budget. And man, as of this morning, we're a little over 22% of those two numbers combined. So $250,000, we're at 22% already given just in a week. And so thank you for your generosity. Thank you for caring. You play a part in allowing us to continue teaching children, doing incredible events, caring for our community. This week alone, I've gotten emails from people who are about to be evicted, people who, hey, we don't have electricity anymore. Like, this is happening. When I speak of the generosity it takes to pull off Shelter from the Rain, the Christmas event, Hope for Christmas, like these people are in our neighborhoods. Like we're not going, states away. We're going neighborhoods away. Like this church is making an impact in communities and families here, like people you work with, like your kids go to school with these families. That's what it's all about. And so this week, I'm just going to kind of close it with this idea that we have to be a For Future Generations church. We have to have our mindset fixed on teaching the next generation the goodness of God, that the gospel does not stop with us, that it continues through us. And that means a lot, not just from me, but from all of us. We all have a part to play. And the word that I want you to kind of hang on today, there's one word that you cannot forget, and that word is invitation. There is power in the word invitation, okay? And invitation is a big deal. But let's just make sure we're all on the same page. The word invitation to me growing up was this thing that we did after every service at my church. We had an invitation. And I grew to love invitations. I hated them, okay? Because it was like, come on, pastor. Like, I'm ready for lunch. And you just keep on dragging out this invitation for one more. You know, like, he can come back next week. You know, like, come on. That was my opinion. Just being honest with you. But as I grew up, I learned that there was this cool part of an invitation that if you came down during the invitation and talked to the pastor would like then at the end of the service give attention to you in front of the whole church. And I had a pretty big Southern Baptist church that I grew up in. And so I got saved multiple times because I got introduced to the church afterwards. And all these people came and like congratulated me and shook my hand and gave me hugs. And I loved attention. Can you imagine why I'm a pastor today? Just kidding. Okay, so all seriousness though, that was invitation. And I don't mean that kind of invitation, okay? When I say the word invitation, I mean an invitation to know someone, an invitation to relationship. I was taught, literally my first couple years of ministry by just a really awesome mentor pastor. He said, hey, listen, your job, Chris, as a pastor is to be a disciple maker. A disciple is a learner. Your job is to teach people what it means to follow Jesus. Not talk to people about following Jesus, but to teach them. There's a difference. I'm a talker by living, but I like to be like taught. I like to teach. I want to show you how to do something. I'm not like a hands-off person. I want to be invested in the learning process, okay? In high school, I had all kinds of classes, but there was this one class that I took called Auto Tech, and it was unlike any other class I'd ever been in. You see, in all my other classes, someone stood by this whiteboard, or in my days, it was this lamp box that cast something on a wall, an overhead projector, okay? I used to always want to play on those things. You know, it's amazing. Technology has changed. But I would sit, and someone would go, wah, 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 and I was supposed to listen. 6 consecutive classes of listening, and I wasn't good at that. I wasn't good. If I wasn't talking, I was sleeping. And so I slept a lot. Don't learn from me there, okay? It was just hard. But Auto Tech was different. You see, in Auto Tech, the teacher would show you something. Hey, this is how you do this. Now you try. This is how you do this. Now you try. And my senior year in high school, I was passing because I was doing teachers' oil changes for free. You know, like, you can't fail the kid that just paid for your oil change, right? Like, I'll go change your oil real fast if you give me a better grade on that test. You know, like negotiating was also part of my skill set. But nonetheless, I learned in that class because it was hands-on. Someone was showing me. And then it all made sense. This pastor was mentoring me, teaching me how to be a young pastor, but showing me like, hey, this is not like a talking job. This is a leading job. You're teaching people. And he said, Chris, there's 4 steps to leadership. There's 4 steps that you must do if you want someone to do what you do. If you want them to follow Jesus, you must show them. And he gave me 4 principles. He called it the leadership square. He said, the first is this: I do it, you watch. If you want them to do anything, tell them, you're going to do it, they must watch you do it. That was step 1. Step 2 was, I do it, you help. Hey, whatever we're doing, whatever I'm teaching, you do it first and make them watch it, and then you ask them to help you. You do it, and then they're assisting you. That's step 2. Step 3, hey, now you do it, I'll help you. It was like a transition of power. Now you're doing what I've taught you to do, but I'm still here to help you. And then step 4 was, you do it, I watch. Now I'm hands off, you got it on your own, and then after that, you've trained someone, you've taught someone, you've showed someone how to do something. You didn't talk it to them, you were hands-on. You led them. This leadership square changed my view of discipleship. It changed my purpose in leading people. It was no longer a talking thing, it was a showing thing. And just to be honest with you, like that's the way of Jesus. Jesus came. He said, I didn't come to be served. I came to serve and to give my life as a ransom. Jesus came to show the way. And so we must learn from him. If this church is going to be a for future generations church, if we're going to last beyond generations, where this church continues to love, care, and lead people to Jesus, then we must get the invitation right. We must look like and live like Jesus. So Jesus, he offers multiple invitations throughout the Bible. But I've picked out 5 invitations that Jesus offers. And it wasn't an invitation of just words. It wasn't like, hey, I invite you to change, or I invite you to stop doing that, or I invite you to get yourself under control. It was an invitation to come and be, to join, to do. And if we adapt or adopt these invitations in our life, if we start to model what Jesus modeled, worlds will change. Like people's life will change. And if their life changes, then the generation behind them can change. And the next thing you know, hundreds of years will be gone, but we will be making disciples or followers of Jesus. So the first one is this. In Matthew 11:28, Jesus is, he's about to pray, and he's about to be thankful for something. So it's great. First one's Thanksgiving week. He's actually making invitations. He's talking to a group of people who are kind of on the outskirts, and he says these words in verse 20. He says, then Jesus says to them, come to me, all who are weary. So in this statement, he really does speak to the heart of the people listening. These people have spent their life like following God and trying their best to do what was asked of them, to live according to the law, to follow every single command. Do this, don't do that. Do this on this day, not on this day. Do this on this week or this celebration. Don't do this. Don't act like that. Don't pick up that. Don't walk here. Don't talk to them. Do that. I mean, it was getting a little chaos, okay? And their right standing with God was dependent upon how well they did this law. Just to be honest with you guys, like if you were to tell me right now that my relationship with Jesus was determined by how I followed the rules or the laws of this land that we live in, I'd be struggling. I mean, there are some laws that we have that I'm like, it's so difficult. Why do we have to have speed limits? I mean, come on. You drive as fast as you want and drive as slow as you want. I just want to drive, like, why can't we hold cell phones? I know you don't have to argue with me. I know. But it's like these things, if my faith in God was determined, if my right standing with God was determined by me following law, I'd be stressed out. Now, I'm working on those things because God is convicting my heart, but it's hard. And so these people that Jesus is coming talking to, they're struggling. There's so many laws. And then the religious leaders have added all these traditional laws. It's a lot. And when he says these words, come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. This was like, wait a minute, what? You want me to come to you and give my burdens, my stress, my worries, my doubts, my fears to you, and you're going to give me rest or peace? You're going to give me this confidence that I'm okay, that I'm righteous, that my condition with you is fixed, that I'm no longer divided or separated? Oh man, this sounds amazing. He wasn't finished. He said, take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you because I'm humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light. For those of you who have never heard of yoke, it's not egg. It was this tool that they would place on two animals when they were like plowing fields or doing like harvest work. They would take this heavy like piece of machinery and put it on these animals, which were much stronger than one person. They would carry the weight of the work, and then they could plow through this land. They would make the work easy. They would make the burden light. What was almost impossible to accomplish on their own was now easily accomplished because there was like a team working together. And Jesus is like, hey, listen, I want you to come and join me. I want you to stop doing things by yourself. I want you to be a part of me. Let me help you. Let me do some of the heavy lifting. Let me do some of the hard work. To these people, this is life-giving, but to us, it should be life-giving. That we don't have to live life alone. We don't have to do things on our own. We have a God who loves us and wants to partner with us, wants to join us. This first invitation to us, to followers, to those who believe is like, man, God wants to be with me. Isn't that what he called himself? Emmanuel, God with us. But that invitation doesn't stop with us. We're to model it. Who around you needs help? Who around you is carrying the stress or the weight of the world? Who around you is burdened, worried, fearful? Man, do you see it? Do you know it? A lot of times we become so busy, so fast-paced in our lane with our problems and our concerns and our cares that we're unable to see those around us. Jesus lived at a pace in life where he was always available for those who needed him. We must model that invitation. Just as Jesus offers us to come to him, we must offer others that we're available. Hey, we are accessible. We want to help. Maybe just listen. We want to help care. We want to help provide if necessary because we love. Why do we love? Because Jesus first loved us. The first one is that Jesus invites us to come to him. The second one is very unique. It's in the book of John. So just hang with me because I should have these marked. John 1. Let's see here. Starting in verse 38. It says, Jesus looked around and saw them following him. So he's gathered some disciples, some learners, and they're intrigued by what he's saying. Like, man, this guy speaks things, and it's like hitting me in a place I've never been. Like, I feel something different. Like, when he talks, I feel like I'm seeing things clear. I feel like I understand. I feel like I'm learning. So they're following him. And he looks around, he sees them following, and he asks them, what do you want? They replied, Rabbi, which means teacher, where are you staying? His response is, come and see. For those who have read this passage or this portion, you know that Jesus doesn't have a home. Like, he doesn't have a consistent place where he goes and sleeps. He doesn't have a bedroom or an RV or a camper or a hotel. He's literally roaming, wandering, going wherever he feels led to go to care for those who God's placed in his path. He does not have a constant. He's roaming. And these people who are coming up to him like, where are you going? What are you doing? Jesus doesn't tell them, I'm going to go over here tomorrow and there to this, and then I'm going to do this. He doesn't talk it out. He invites them to come along with him and see him and join him. In that same mentor discipleship relationship I was in where I learned the leadership square, I learned this principle to, as you go. This principle is literally, as you go, who can join you? He's like, what are you going to do this week? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, be practical. What are you going to do this week? I'm like, well, I'm going to go to the grocery store this week. I'm going to go to my kid's baseball game this week. I'm probably going to go to my family's house this week. He's like, can anyone join you? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, can someone join you going to the grocery store? I'm like, that sounds kind of weird, He's like, why? I'm like, well, because I've never done it before. He's like, well, that's why it's weird. You've never done it. But what if you invite, hey, I'm going to the grocery store. You want to go on Tuesday with me? You can grocery shop and while I grocery shop. Can you do that? And I'm like, all right, I guess I can. He's like, that's as you go. You've got to go anyway. Can someone join you? He's like, you're going to your kid's baseball game, right? Yeah, you're going to sit on bleachers? Yep. Are they going to be full? No. Can someone come and watch the game with you? What if they don't want to watch my kid? He's like, you don't know until you ask. As you go, can they come and join you? Well, I mean, I guess, After weeks upon weeks of this mentor asking me about as I go, it clicked. I connected. As Jesus went, he allowed people to come along with him. So much time is wasted in our life because as we go alone. As we do alone. We live in the mentality of I can do it better than anyone else, so I'll just do it. Or I can do it fast enough, so I'll just do it. But the problem with that is that you're not modeling Jesus. Jesus invited people to come along him. You see, the life of a follower of Jesus is not this me trying to be like Jesus, me trying to look like Jesus, it's me bringing others along to show them Jesus. This is a disciple maker. This is a Jesus follower. Jesus, as he went, invited people to come along. Come and see. How often do people ask you, hey, what are you doing this weekend? And their response is, well, I'm going to do this and this and this and this, and that's it. What would it be like, hey, we're going to go here. You want to come with us? Hey, my kid's got a football game. You want to join us? Hey, we're thinking about going to this restaurant. You got plans? This is as you go. This is come and see. It's no longer just telling, it's showing. This second invitation that Jesus offers is a big one for us. We must have time and space to allow people to come and see, to join us, to be part of it. This next invitation is where things begin to change. In John 7, starting in verse 37, Jesus begins to speak some words that are a little more corrective, changing, revealing that his kingdom is different. He's proclaiming that he has power over earth and even in heaven. And he says these words starting in verse 37. On the last day, the climax of the festival, Jesus stood and shouted to the crowds. He couldn't contain himself. It wasn't no longer a little intimate conversation. It was a big conversation. And he says, anyone who is thirsty may come to me. Anyone who is thirsty may come to me. Anyone who believes in me may come and drink. For the scriptures declare, rivers of living water will flow from his heart. When he said living water, he was speaking of the Spirit who would be given to everyone believing in him. But the Spirit had not yet been given because Jesus had not entered into his glory. He's offering an invitation for their life to be filled, to be made complete, to be whole, that whatever was missing or lacking would be made full or complete in the work of the Spirit in their life. For anyone who feels like, man, they've been trying, but yet they have never been enough, didn't measure up, couldn't get it right, always messed up, always failed, come to me and I'm going to give you something that will complete you, will fill you, will make you who you're supposed to be. Jesus offers an invitation to someone's life to be changed. It's this invitation that many people struggle. Have you ever invited someone over to your house and then spent the 24 hours before they come over deep cleaning your home? You gotta come over Friday night? Oh crap, I didn't see my house. You gotta clean the sink and the toilets and vacuum and dust and you gotta take all the kids' socks and put them in the laundry room, and you gotta deep clean the couch and under the couch, and you start cleaning up because your guest is coming, right? You want them to see the best version of you. Jesus felt the need to shout this invitation because what he's speaking to people, what he's teaching you, what he's showing people is that you don't have to get it all together to come to me. You don't have to put it all together and make it look nice and pretty. He's asking, do you have a need? Just so you know, it's innate in you. You are thirsty because you need water. You have to have water to live. And so he asks, do any of you have this innate need? The answer is yes. He doesn't say, hey, go get yourself together and come to me. He doesn't say, go get yourself a cup or a bucket and come to me. He says, just come to me. Just as you are, come, and I'm going to give you something that will change your life. I'm going to give you something that will restore you, will make you whole. I'm going to give you something that will give you the strength to overcome or endure. I'm going to give you something that gives you the wisdom to see beyond today. I don't need you to go fix yourself and come to me. I just need you to come to me and I'll give it to you. This invitation is a game changer to a people who feel that they need to dress themselves up, act the right way, be the best. Does everyone see me doing the right thing so that they can approach God? And Jesus is like, no, you don't need to do that. You should come to me. Anyone who believes, I'll give you exactly what you need that will change your life. You don't have to dress up, pretty up, fix up. You don't have to hide your mess ups. There's no cleaning up. Just show up and I'll change your life. This invitation changed your life, changed my life. But we must now turn and offer it to people around us. We must be okay with people who maybe their life's not fully together. Maybe it's different than ours. Maybe it's messy. Maybe it's broken. Maybe they're struggling. Instead of running away or finding people who are just like you, living just like you, believing just like you, you embrace their differences. You love them through their mess. You care about them and stick with them in their brokenness. You see, this invitation that Jesus offered us is where we struggle to offer to others. And he loved us in our brokenness. Can we love others in theirs? Can we stand with them in their differences? Can we carry them through their heartache and hurt? This invitation is a big deal. Jesus said, come to me and I'll give you something to change your life. Can we stick by people long enough for them to see Jesus in us? To see us care about them when no one else has? To love them when everyone else has run? Could they be in our presence long enough to see Jesus in our life? Because Jesus is the one who changes everything. Jesus says, come to me and you'll never thirst again. The next invitation he comes to is my favorite one. And only because it involves food. And whenever there's food, I'm in, right? I think that's why Thanksgiving is so awesome. In John 21, Jesus has already died and buried, has come back to life. He's made himself known to a few people, and he does something really special. So in John 21, starting in verse 12, it says, now come and have some breakfast. You see, what Jesus had just done was very interesting. He had asked the disciples who were fishing. You see, their life had just been turned upside down. Jesus, the Messiah, had died. He's now alive, but he's not like with them. He's about to go away from them, and they're just like, what do we do? So they went back to what they knew. They fished. And they had fished all day long, all night long, caught nothing. And this random guy on the shore was like, hey, cast your nets on the other side. And that sparked this memory in them, and they caught more fish than they could ever, amount to. And Peter's like, oh my gosh, this is who it is. It's Jesus. And he jumps off and into the shore and gets there. They all come. And it says that Jesus now says, come and have some breakfast. None of the disciples dared to ask him, who are you? They knew it was the Lord. What's so special about this is that Jesus is communicating, I have time for you. I've got time. Like, yes, I'm about to go away, but I'm present. I'm here. I'm with you. I just want you to think in your everyday life. Like, how often have you ate dinner alone or just your immediate family? Just don't answer it out loud in your mind. How often have you ate alone or with your immediate family? Maybe it was dinner last night. It was just you guys. Or maybe it was lunch a couple days ago. It was just you. There's so many times in our day, in our week, in our month, where we do something alone or even isolated, just a few of us. But Jesus always had time for people. So often around food, he would spend time with people who were different, who didn't like him, who others didn't like. He would just be present with them. Until wee hours of the morning, he would sit and talk and listen. Jesus communicates time and time again, hey, you're a priority to me. I've got time for you. I'm available. This invitation to come and have breakfast was an invitation to be present, to be known. Do we have that kind of time? Do we have space and availability to invite someone to come along? Hey, just join us. Dine with us. When food is involved, people talk. They share their story. It's an opportunity for us to listen and be there, to understand, to be present, to care, to ask questions. Jesus is teaching us something very important. Do we allow people into our space? Do we invite them along? Can they join us? Is there room for them at your table? It is Thanksgiving. Don't forget that question. The last invitation is the hardest one. In Mark 10, Jesus speaks these words to a young man who is trying his best to do everything God's asked, to live by the letter of the law. Teacher, the man replied in Mark 10, verse 20, I've obeyed all these commandments since I was young. Looking at the man, Jesus felt genuine love for him. There is still one thing you haven't done, he told him. Go and sell all of your possessions and give your money to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come follow me. Jesus reveals probably the most interesting and hardest invitation. And it's the invitation to let go. To let go of whatever's holding you back. In this situation, in this story, this young man had possessions. Lots of possessions that he was holding on to. And when Jesus said, go sell those and give them to the poor and come follow me, it was like, oh, but you're asking me to sell and give away what makes me me. If I lose this stuff, then who am I? That was the question. It was really hard for him to let go of his stuff. And here's what's interesting. The longer I pastor, stuff is really not the hardest thing to get rid of anymore. There's so many people who have either lost everything or know someone who's lost everything that a lot of us don't struggle with giving away our stuff. A lot of us, though, and I would say in a church stat, a Christian stat, like 90+% of us, if God were to ask us to let go of our story, it's here we struggle to let go. Ask me for my car, I'll figure it out. My money, I probably got something to give. Food, I'll feed you. Somewhere to live, you can move in, live in my house. But you ask me to release my story, my past, my faults, my failures, my mess ups. Oh, that's too far. Those things I can't speak of. Those things I can't let go of. Those things, if everyone knew that, they wouldn't stick or stay. They wouldn't listen or hang out. If this were to be revealed, I would lose everything. My marriage, my home, my finances, if my job, if this were to surface, now this would destroy me. I have to keep this contained. This needs to stay quiet. This nobody can know. For many of us in the room, if we were to replace the rich young man and put ourselves in it, I think many of us would be asked by Jesus to give him our story. Hey, will you let go of the control you have over your past? Would you be willing to tell the truth about where you've been or what's happened to you? Would you be willing to share or tell someone who's going through something that you've been through what happened to you, your hurts, your hang-ups, your habits? You see, the craziness is that by hanging on to those things, we feel like we're in control, but it's the exact opposite. It's actually in control of you. It has authority over you. Not God, it. Because every moment in time someone got close to it, you changed who you were. You became protective, quiet, secretive. You ran, you hid, you lied in order to protect that. Why? Because that is in control. You see, the young man in the story, his stuff was in control. It's what determined who he was. For many of us, our past is in control. And God's asking for it. He's saying, hey, will you surrender that? Give it up. Let me use it for my glory and your good. And the question we have is, will we trust him? Will we let go? You see, when we let go of this is where God uses our life to be an invitation to himself for people around us. You mean you went through all that and you still follow Jesus? You've experienced this and you still follow Jesus? This happened and this happened, but this is who you are now. Man, this Jesus guy must be real. Many of us today are being asked to go and give up our story, to surrender our past, and allow God to use it for his glory and our good. The question is, will you do it? Will you, when God calls, will you give it up? Let it go? Will you allow what you don't like to be used by God to change someone else's life? That invitation, to give it up, to let it go. This invitation is the one we must model. You see, when we let go of our story, we let go of our past, nothing has control over us. Only Jesus. And it's his will. It's his timing that determines the usage of it. He's control over it. And now we're under his control. We're under his leadership. This is what a follower looks like. A disciple looks like. And then when we invite someone to know Jesus, they've seen him because of the way we live. An invitation can change everything. An invitation to come and have dinner. An invitation to go to the grocery store. An invitation to come to the game. An invitation to come to church. That one invitation could change someone's life. The question is, are you willing to invite them in? Are you willing to let someone in to your world, to your life, to your rhythms and routines, to your marriage, to your parenting? Let them see who you are, not at work or out there, but who you really are. It's in these spaces that people find Jesus. This week I was reminded of a very special invitation. To many of you, this cup doesn't mean much, but to me, it means the world. Y'all know I love Christmas stuff, and so this cup was given to me a couple weeks ago by a family who recently lost their mom. You've probably heard me talk about this. I talk about it a lot, but I had the privilege of spending 2 years getting to know someone named Susan. Susan, a little over 2 years ago, was diagnosed with ALS, and every Wednesday I had the privilege of just meeting with her and talking about life, listening, learning, experiencing, walking with her through highs and lows. Susan loved Jesus, and though having a terminal illness, represented to the world what it meant to follow Jesus when things are hard, to trust him even when it means you're losing your life. And so a couple months ago, we lost Susan, and her family, as a gift, gave me some Christmas dishes. The past week, my kids have drank more hot chocolate than they've ever had in their life out of these mugs. And I've threatened their life to never put these in the dishwasher because of just their quality and what the instructions say. And so I've hand washed these 35 times. And each time I hand wash this, I'm reminded of her life. But this week, while washing them, it took me back 2.5 years when Susan was in the process of being diagnosed with ALS. 2 of her friends who loved her dearly offered her one invitation. Hey, won't you come to church with me? won't you come and sit with me? Susan took them up on their offer, and she came to LifeBridge. And she walked in the doors of a church that was way different than the church she grew up in. But people at the front door and the parking lot loved her, welcomed her, cared for her. And the next week knew her by name and was excited to see her, and she kept coming. And then I got the privilege of meeting her. And her life changed my life. And it all happened because of one invitation. It wasn't an invitation to read the Bible. It wasn't an invitation to follow Jesus. It wasn't an invitation that come change your life, or it was just, hey, you want to come sit with me? Non-threatening, non-invasive, an invitation. You never know how your one invitation could change someone's world. Literally change their life forever. And in that one invitation, in that one life that's changed, generations could be changed forever. So I just ask you one simple question. Who could you invite this week to sit at your table for dinner, to have a cup of coffee, to hang out during the lunch break, to sit at your table for lunch? Who could you invite to join you as you go? And in that invitation, maybe their life's forever changed. Who could you invite? Come sit with me at church during the second service. You never know how their life can be changed or how yours can be changed in the process. So this week, one piece of advice, one encouragement, one request. Invite someone to join you. Invite someone in, and let's see what God does. I believe he's going to change generations through you, through us, and through LifeBridge. Let me pray for us. God, thanks for the day. Thanks for your truth. Thanks for what you teach us. Thanks for what you reveal to us. Thanks for how you showed us how to live. You didn't just tell us. You invited us to join you. God, may we do the same. May we invite people in such a way that they can see you in us, that our life reflects to them a Jesus worth following, and that they too would give their life. And God, when someone gives their life to you, it impacts generations to come. Generations are changed through our pursuit of you. Help us be a for future generations church, that we are looking to tell others how great you are, how wonderful you are, how faithful you are. And in so doing, Jesus, we build your kingdom. We love you. It's in our pray. Amen. Hey, as we take our conversations to the lobby, if you would like someone to pray for you this morning, stay seated, and one of our prayer team members will come and find you. Love you guys. You're dismissed. We'll see you next week.